Hello everyone, my name is Joe Poreka, and I'm obviously with Active Claremont. And before we begin, we're going to start by saluting our flag with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And so before we hear from our speaker tonight, I just want to introduce the board of Active Claremont, for those of you that are not familiar with our organization. I am, again, Joe Poreka, and I'm a past president of this organization, and I'm also now a member at large. Our president is unable to join us this evening. He had to take care of some family affairs back in Ohio. But that's Russ Binder, and he's new as of this year, his first year as president. Bill Bueller is our first vice president, and he's been on the board longer than I have, so he's one of the long timers. John Hart is here. He's also a member at large with me. And we also have John Scott as vice president number 2, and Brian Bocock, who I don't believe is here yet, but he's our treasurer. So without any further ado, thanks so much for coming tonight to hear from the Claremont Police Foundation. And I'd like to introduce our speaker, Shelley Vanderveen.
Good evening. On behalf of the Claremont Police Foundation, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to use this arena to announce the founding of the Claremont Police Foundation. I'm Shelley Vanderveen. You may recognize me as the police chief of the Claremont, where I served for 29 years for the community. As a Claremont resident, I'm now blessed with the opportunity to give back to the community and the police department as the CEO of the foundation. I'm sure many of you have heard the term police foundation because nearly every community in our area has a police foundation. It's about time that Claremont has a police foundation as well to show our community our community support of our police department. This is our first public presentation announcing the foundation, so you can consider yourselves all in the first to know. The city staff and city council do a great job of providing and developing a budget that prioritizes community safety. The intent of the foundation is to create partnerships between the community and the police department through donations and fundraising opportunities that will further enhance the department's programs and services. In other words, we've created a vehicle for the community to show their appreciation for the hard work of the men and women within the police department, while at the same time enhancing the programs that make our community safe. Here's where the community's donations to the foundations will go. The K-9 program, youth programs and scholarships, equipment and technology, and specialized training. A K-9 program has been a part of the Claremont Police Department since the 1980s. And a one-dog program is supported by the city budget. Just over 10 years ago, a community group, Keeping Good in the Neighborhood, raised funds for a second dog. You may remember Luther. Luther has since retired, along with Dodger, seen in this photo, and his handler, Sean Evans. After their retirement, I was proud to keep the program going in my final year as chief by selecting the police department's current dog and handler, Drew, a bloodhound, and Drew's handler, Matt Morales. Canines are considered a force multiplier. In other words, one dog tracking can do the job of numerous officers. For example, Drew, our current dog, as a bloodhound, can follow the scent of a suspect in a crime, could track down a runaway juvenile, can even track down a missing adult suffering from Alzheimer's, saving hours or even days of police officer efforts. One of our foundation 2024 goals is to raise funds for a second K-9, bringing the program back to 2 dogs. This would provide the possibility to have a K-9 to serve the community 7 days a week. Contributions to the foundation will also support additional equipment and technology. One of the foundation's 2024 goals in this area is to provide funding to outfit a 4th motor officer. Traffic safety has historically been a primary concern of Claremont residents. The police department, post-COVID budgetary concerns, has gotten staffing levels back up to an appropriate level with the support of the current city manager and the city council. This has allowed Chief Aaron Fay to get 3 motor officers back on the street. I know I've seen them, I keep my eye out for them. You all probably have too. They're really working around the schools right now, and they're being very effective. The foundation wants to show the community support to these efforts by providing funding to outfit a 4th traffic officer with specialized helmet, the Kevlar uniform that they wear, and communication equipment needed to get that officer out on a motorcycle. The third area is youth programs. Our police department has an outstanding Youth Explorer program providing youth ages 14 to 20 the opportunity to learn about law enforcement careers and to contribute to their community. Last year, the police department's 9 active members of the program contributed over 1,200 volunteer hours to the community. They also participate in an annual Explorer Academy and competitions, all paid through their own fundraising efforts. Our foundation will contribute to the program to ensure that no youth is turned away due to financial need. The final area is specialized training. The city provides a budget to ensure that all of our officers receive all the required state standardized training. Funds raised through the foundation will support training opportunities that would support the long-term mental health of our officers and police department staff, as well as training opportunities to ensure that our officers are prepared to serve our community with distinction. The foundation board is comprised of 5 board members, all which are present today. They all have a history of serving the Claremont community. And in the photo here, and I'll have them stand up as I announce them. From left to right, we have Deborah Robinson, our secretary.
I'm already standing.
Joyce Sauter, our president and founder. Helene Goldwater, our vice president. And we convinced Bill Bueller to take another job as our treasurer.
And Shelley Vanderbeek.
So I'm going to bring Bill up here, and he's going to talk about ways you can support the foundation.
We're very fortunate in the foundation in so much as we had a donation that got us started and will keep us running administratively for 3 to 5 years. With that in mind, 100% of the money that we collect will go to one of our 4 programs. The other part of the program for the cadets is scholarships, should they want to go to college, a trade school, or anything such as that. We have a foundation that will give us matching funds from now through the end of June. Every dollar that you donate will be matched up to $25,000. So we have the possibility of raising $50,000 between now and the end of June. We're going to get committees going in the future. You'll see we're going to have raffles, so those committees will be going out into the community to try and get presents, prizes for the raffles. If you are interested in donating time to be on one of our committees, we'd love to have you talk to us in that sense also. Online, we have this magic little thing that I have no idea how it works, but you take your camera and you take a picture and it sends you to it. Also, we are going to be giving out our trifolds that we just got Tuesday, and that will give you all the information that we presented tonight. One quick timeout. Will the birthday girl please stand up? Let's sing happy birthday to Joan. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mom. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, Corey, for bringing your mom.
All right, on our next
I'm sure
slide.
she's grateful.
On our next slide is our contact information. We do have trifles that has all this information on it. And I'll just conclude by saying, if you want to show the men and women at the police department what an outstanding job they're doing and that you appreciate them, consider donating to the foundation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are a 501c3, so any donations you make are fully tax deductible. Do we have any questions for Shelley, hopefully, not for Bill?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So a little bit more about the canine. I think it would be helpful for people to know how often are canines deployed, how useful are they? Obviously you hinted a little bit. And then what's the price tag on one of those pups?
Yeah, so an average dog costs $12,000 for the dog. A big expense is the car, but because we already had 2 canines, the car's already there waiting for a dog to go in it. So that big expense was already funded by the city. So $12,000. And a dog is like anything, it depends on what happens, right? There's sometimes officers are driving around doing nothing, other times they're busy going call to call, so it depends. But the type of, like the bloodhound, for example, that's also, it's a comfort dog, it's a community outreach dog. So really, when that dog is out, it's always working. It may not be tracking down that lost child, but it's always working. Matt brings the dog to the schools, brings it to Coffee with the Cop. I mean, you'll see that dog out a lot. Not necessarily tracking somebody, but being that connection from the police to the community.
Thank you.
And we're not talking about an attack dog purchasing for the department. It'd be a sniffer most probably.
My theory is the bloodhound or similar dogs could track down a suspect and then the officers can go in and take custody. That's my opinion. I believe the current chief feels the same way. Yeah.
And the dog goes home with Officer Morales or whoever they're assigned to, correct?
Yes, there is a very strong bond that develops between an officer and their dog. But at the end of, when the handler no longer wants to do the handling, then there's times that that dog can be reassigned to another handler to get the full life out of the dog. But typically, the handler stays the handler of that dog until the dog
Retires.
ends of work life and retires. And then the handler gets the opportunity to purchase the dog from the city so it can remain within that household.
So is there a position already funded for a handler for the dog?
Yes. With the canine, it would be one of the current patrol officers would just also assume the role of the canine. So it's just getting them the dog to put into, but yeah, there is a position. Yeah.
That's right. Unless I missed this in the very beginning, are there going to be social media outreach or public outreach or Instagram, Facebook, anything like that, or how's the community going to know about it?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So right before you got here, I announced that everybody here is the first to know because this is our first public presentation. We're also going to be speaking at the City Council on the 23rd, next Tuesday, and that starts a number of different outreach events. We have our website. We also have Facebook and Instagram, and so we want to get out to the City Council and get the information to them, and after that we'll start rolling out a lot of social media outreach. Yes?
Sorry, back to the dog. So are you thinking you'll have, what type of specialty will the second dog have? Will it be the same?
So the thing is with this foundation is we're developing the funds, and then we work in conjunction with the chief. And so I'm the liaison as the retired chief. I talk a lot to the current chief, and he would like to see a similar, not necessarily the same breed, but a similar dog as the bloodhound that has similar tracking abilities and being that dog that you can bring to community events and the kids could run up to it and it's that connection. So it'll be a similar type of dog, but not necessarily the same breed. Yes?
You mentioned the youth program and there were scholarships of some type. What are the scholarships? I mean, what's that lead to? What is the education involved with these scholarships?
Yeah, so we're currently still trying, as a board, trying to hone down on what exactly that means, working in conjunction with the Explorer advisor. But where we see that going is if a youth has volunteered for the Explorer program for a set number of years or time or hours, that we provide them with a scholarship towards their future education. As I said, the Explorer program is ages 14 to 20. So often we see them graduating from the Explorer and then they're going to college. Or some of them still remain Explorers as they're going to college. So we see providing them with a small scholarship just to show that our support for all their volunteerism as an Explorer.
And have you had youth already taking advantage of the scholarships and going on to a college or community college?
With your check, we can start. This is our first presentation.
We'll get the first week.
Yeah, we're just kicking it off right now. So it's ultimately going to depend on how much money we can raise. But some of you probably have gone to what's the patch show? Porky, thank you. Porky Patch Show. It's a police patch show that's hosted at Taylor Hall once a year. And I think it's coming up actually on Saturday. Yeah, on Saturday. So the Explorers volunteer at that patch show, and in turn, the people that run that show give a contribution to the Explorers. So that's one of their main fundraisers, but the academy that they go to is $500 each per youth to go to this week-long academy. And it really builds on their leadership skills and prepares them for potential futures in law enforcement. And we just don't want to see the program say, you know what, we didn't raise enough at the patch show this year, so you can go, but you can't. So we want to be able to have funding so that anybody that's going to commit to the Explorer program, commit hours to volunteering at the police department, we can say, you know what, thank you for your service. We're going to help you go to the academy. And as far as the scholarships for future education, like I said, we're developing those criteria now.
Yeah, our local business is aware of your program.
They soon will
Because
be.
you protect them.
They soon will
So
be,
they
because
should
one
be.
of our presentations is actually at the chamber breakfast. So we're pretty much Joyce has signed me up for every group that's out there, and we'll be providing the same information to them and then some. Yes.
So you mentioned trying to get a fourth motor officer too. Can you explain a little about the difference between their capabilities and the people that are driving cars?
Yeah. So in the past, we've had 4 motor officers. We have 4 motorcycles. So the motorcycle's just sitting there waiting to get that 4th officer on board. But their equipment costs a lot of money, and they were able to get 3 of them out there now, and they're ready to get that 4th one out there. But the budget's the budget. There's a line item. And so we've said, hey, let us help you get that 4th one out there. It'll eventually get there, but we can help get it out there faster. So the difference between a motor officer and another officer in a car is the ability to get places. You see somebody on a phone and you're in a car and you're trying to flip a U-turn and get in to catch them. It's often impossible, especially during high traffic, where a motor officer can slip through the traffic and roll right up to the car. So they're very, very effective in traffic enforcement.
So it's not budgeted, but the foundation can help support that position? Is that what you're saying?
So the city council allocated an additional officer this year. So the council said, yeah, we want you to have the officer, but there's training involved and whatnot, so the 4th officer hasn't gotten out there yet.
Motor officer.
Motor officer, yes. So, so the current chief is prepared to get a motor officer out there. And like I said, if we do nothing, it'll eventually, they'll do it because the city's great at making sure that there's funding out there. But it might be the next budget cycle where we're saying, you know what, this is important enough for our community to get another traffic officer out there. We're going to donate, it ultimately is like $3,000. Let us help you out so we can show how much we appreciate that traffic is a priority for the police department.
The uniforms are right at $3,500 because they're Kevlar. Their helmet is $2,500. That's the biggest expense. So it's a lot.
And what I want to keep going back to is yeah, we're raising money for different equipment and eventually, yeah, the city will probably like, yeah, okay, here's some money. But for me, I'm going to donate because it's my way to show the police department, look, the community's got your back. We appreciate the fact that you're doing this for us, that you got 3 motor officers out there, that you risk your life every day. I mean, it's similar for me, the people that maintain my yard at Christmas time, you know, I want to give them a little extra bonus. It's your way to show, hey, we appreciate you. Thank you for doing such hard work. And for me, that's what this foundation's all about, to show the officers and the staff that, look, the community has your back and supports you. So when we have future fundraising events, who knows, maybe we have a cornhole competition or whatever and money goes towards the foundation. It brings the community out and say, hey officers, we're here because we appreciate it. So that's what it's more about to me than, so what exactly, you know, you know what I mean? So, so we're working with the chief to find things that we can, the specialized equipment and whatnot to make them even better. But what a great way to show we appreciate you, but also getting services in return.
This has been a touchy subject in the past because the ballot measures keep failing. But would any of this money that you guys are raising would go towards trying to get a new police station? I mean, can you politicize your function and try to get out there and make people, agree to pay some money to do this?
Yeah. You know, I was a part of the last campaign, and yeah, so I've had a lot of blood, sweat, and tears put into trying to get a new station, as well as many people in the community. I was just one of a lot of people. So yeah, that for me too is a very sensitive issue, and why I feel it's so important because of those failures of the bond measure to show our police department that we appreciate them. But at this time, this money is not going specifically to the police department. I think, and who knows, maybe our past mayor, Ed Reese, can chime in here, but I'm not going to put you necessarily on the spot. I'll answer. But I think the city right now has, with the 2 failures of the bond measure, they're looking at how can we make our current police department serve its purpose. And there still needs to be a major repair to it. As far as I'm concerned, and I'll say it right now, the police department is not safe. Because of the way it was built, and it needs structural changes to support the roof that's sitting on top of the walls.
So I'm happy to chime in.
Come up here. You're going to come up here.
He's shy.
I know.
I don't know anything about the city.
He won't.
I do want to add something before you get it. But one thing that I, as a police officer working within that building, I didn't have much pride in it. I had no pride in it. No pride. And I was in a women's locker room that we had to divide. Oh, there was 2 females. All come early and get ready because there's not enough room for us both to get ready. I'm retired. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But City Council recently approved funding to start developing or designing a women's locker room that's going to be attached to the building, so that it's going to be extended off to the west. So I really feel like the City Council and City Manager understand the need, and they're trying to do whatever they can to improve the police station. And after that last bond failure, within the police department, we looked inside and was like, what can we do to feel better about our home? We spend more, as a police officer, you spend more time in that building than you do at home sometimes. And it was our home, so what can we do? So the police officers started fixing the inside, started painting the walls, started, the people, I mean the volunteers, they know, the officers like, hey, after I get off today, I'm gonna help do, you know, this or that or whatever. On their own time, they started cleaning up the inside of the police station, painting the walls. We redesigned certain offices, making them bigger, doing the best of what we could do. If you go for a tour of the police department now, it looks completely different from when you went on a tour before. So we're doing what we can with the money that we have. And I feel that we have the support of City Council. I say we, I'm no longer in it. Sorry, it's a habit. I think they are doing what they can with the money that's provided with the support of the City Council.
Tell them the 30/30 program and why a women's locker room is so important. Oh, they're using bathrooms outside, by the way.
Yeah.
The 30/30 program is 30% female officers by 2030. And with only one officer able to get into the locker room at a time, that's not going to be too comfortable with our department. So it's another push to get facilities for the females.
Yeah, I believe they now have 6 female officers, which is more female officers than the entire history of the department. So.
Well, I don't know where to add that. You know, Shelley's right in regards to kind of where the department's at. And I have to say, I have to give a lot of appreciation to the officers and to the leaders that we have there that spend their time to do what they can to better their work environment. I mean, hats off, you know, total hats off to them. We are doing what we can as well. As Shelley said, we have authorized funding for a design, what a formal design would look like for an expansion or add-on for a women's locker room. Here's a really interesting part about all of this. Back when the building was first developed, first built, there was no concept of a female officer. It wasn't even on the radar. And that's why there wasn't really a proper facility built at that time. Well, times have changed. And as Shelley said, we have a historic level of female officers now, and that's fantastic. And we hope to get more. And so we need to do right by trying to figure out how to support them and how to support the officers. So a couple things. One is that locker room design and working on that design, and the other element is looking at ways to secure the building. We have done some. You don't like what I'm saying? Sorry.
That's okay. You've said enough. You've said enough.
Lovely that Mayor Pro Tem turned the light off on me.
Thank you.
But as I was saying, and the other thing is that we've looked at is we have done some safety elements. There is more safety elements to be done, and we're looking at how to get that done as well. And so we want to show our officers that what they do every day, day in and day out, is important. And I think one element and one way to do that is to make sure where they work is a better place. But I will echo something Shelley said in regards to the foundation and a way that this community, besides saying, hey, great job on social media, another way is to get engaged in the foundation. Whether that means volunteering and working with the foundation, or whether that means giving a contribution. I think both of those also reinforce this community's desire to share our appreciation for what the officers do. As a contributor of the foundation, I will encourage you to do so as well.
whether it's 25 bucks, 100 bucks, 200 bucks, 500 bucks, whatever you can do to help the foundation get off the ground is appreciated, because that will, again, go towards sharing with those officers our overall appreciation and commitment to them as they go in and day in and day out on their 12-hour shifts to keep us safe. So I'm happy to answer any other questions in regards to the city elements, but Shelley can speak to the foundation.
Thank you. Does that answer your question about the building?
I believe so.
You got more than
curious as to whether you are going to be able to use any efforts to assist in getting the situation taken care of. But
yeah,
it sounds like that's not really part of your gambit.
Correct.
So
actually, under regulation, and the only reason I know is because I'm part of other nonprofits and another foundation. Foundations won't be able to do that. So 501c3 can't get engaged in that process. It'd be a violation of, and could lose their nonprofit status in doing so.
And plus, we also see that the city is approving things to make some progress in that area. So I know I personally, on the side, am pushing for that outside of this foundation. So I think good things are coming. So. Yes.
When did the foundation start? How long has the Claremont?
Today.
Oh, okay. So
today is our first day.
So you don't have any funds yet?
We have, yeah, I wrote a check, a couple of us did. But today is our first presentation. We've been working on this since last January to get our federal nonprofit status, our Secretary of State nonprofit status, to get our website up, which Jose Vera has helped us get our website up and helped us print our trifold at a dramatic discount. So we've had some very good help along the way, but we wanted to do it right, and that's why it's taken 12 months to get this far. And so this is our first presentation. Our second will be Tuesday at City Hall, and then we're doing Kiwanis with Rotary clubs, Claremont Manor, Chamber of Commerce. Somebody help me here. Where else? Rotary, both of them. So we've got a lot of speaking engagements for Shelley. And we're very excited. This has been something that our board has worked very hard for. Joyce has wanted this for years, and so she never asked me to do it. She just called my wife Lori and said, Bill's going to be on the board and we need a treasurer. And it's like, yes, dear. 2 words out of my mouth every time, yes, dear. And so I think we have an excellent board. We have, between the 4 of them, they know a lot of people. Unfortunately, I know very few, but a lot of people know me, so that's a different thing. But we work together very well, and I'm excited what we've put together up till now, and I'm looking forward to the next 6 months. If we can get a full matching fund of $25,000, puts us as $50,000, and we can do some amazing things and get more of the community involved to raise more money to assist our department and the 4 programs that we have chosen to sponsor. You can ask yet more questions if you really want.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm very grateful to hear this news of the foundation. I think it's terrific, and I heartily approve. I wanted to say that the Claremont Police recently, I won't get into details, but were very active and supportive on a situation in my immediate neighborhood where I live that was very, very dire. And for the meantime, it's been alleviated. So I'm grateful for the Claremont Police for not only that, but for years of service. And I really appreciate it. One thing I'm wondering is if there's any thought of the foundation supporting the police in any way regarding initiatives that the county, the city for that matter, maybe the mayor can address this as well, or the state puts forth that make police work more difficult in our city. I've mentioned before at other meetings that I've seen the city grow over many years from what it used to be when I was a child. And it's grown exponentially to all sides. And there's a lot of area to cover, and there's a lot of problems that we're facing. And I approve of what you're doing to support the police department, the building, obviously all the things that you've mentioned. But I'm wondering if these things come up, can the foundation be a helpful voice amongst other groups, some of which members are here, to make sure that, or to try to make sure that the police aren't inundated with other issues? Again, not to take away from the money trying to be raised for all the issues, but what I'm seeing is that's another area of support that really needs to be addressed.
I'd answer this by saying that initially our intent is not to get political, but we also will continue to evaluate the needs of the community and how we can help to ensure that we're keeping those bonds between the police department and community strong. So these are things that we will continue to evaluate. But initially our purpose is not necessarily to get political, but we're all a part of the Claremont community too. So we see what the needs are, and that may change.
I mean, just speaking of dogs, and I love dogs, like the dog chasing his tail if these things aren't addressed, because the amount of pressure put on the police department in all directions has escalated, and some of these initiatives that come forward, it seems plain to me, maybe I'm not seeing it correctly, but they're all things that'll make the work of the police harder. So you can talk about getting a police dog, you can talk about getting more policemen, you can talk about, fixing the police building, all of which are necessary. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. But if these things continue the way they are to make the police work more difficult, and just my own situation, my neighborhood, as I say, without getting into details, it is a very, very difficult problem, and I use the word dire because I can't think of anything else to describe it.
Well, I would say I should have had you come up here and talk, because you're exactly describing why it's so important for the community to show the police department that they appreciate what they're doing. They're all human. They all have emotions, and this stuff takes a toll on them also. So police work has been getting harder and harder to try and keep the community safe, and it's more important than ever to show these officers and the staff that they're appreciated, that they're going out there and risking their own safety and their future to keep us all safe.
We see that time and time again. But last but not least, when attending the council meetings, I see the police are always there. They're always active. There's somebody there's representing them, or several people representing them from the department, which again I heartily am grateful for. But they can't speak. Sometimes somebody might speak off the record, but it seems to me that that's a terrible type of situation where they know that their work is going to double or triple, and that there's not the support there to try to curb some of these things that are working against them. Yeah. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
So if I can add, I think part of the elements that you're speaking of are both in policy and politics. And in both of those areas, there's a lot of work to be done. But that work isn't just incumbent on the council or incumbent on any group or the department or the officers speaking up, but it's incumbent on us as residents and as voters. There's policies that do make it difficult on police work. And there's elected officials that, to the POA's perspective, make it difficult on police work. And I think our job is to evaluate that as residents and as voters. It's our job to evaluate that. And it's our job to make a decision on whether or not the people we're electing, that we're going to the ballot box for, represents our values. And I'm hearing you say, what's currently happening doesn't represent your values. And so I would encourage you to get engaged. This year, you will have the opportunity to elect a new district attorney. You'll have the opportunity to elect a new state senator. You'll have the opportunity to elect a new assembly member. All three make policy or modify policy that affect police work. And so you have a big opportunity to get engaged and potentially change the outcomes to something that maybe fits more to your values.
See, I appreciate what you just did, because that's direct and it's educational. And we're talking about having the youth come in too with the police, which I hardly agree with that. I love that idea of getting the youth involved. But as people grow older and they become voters, whatever, they need to be educated. I don't know why there's a fear of speaking up or speaking out. You know, everything, I understand apolitical, but it gets to the point where we've seen in other communities where they just say enough is enough. It's yeah, we can keep adding money and raising money for all these things, which is marvelous, and they need to be done. But if the policies are going to make it harder for the police departments to do their job, and then we see what's happening in the community with the robberies and the break-ins and the this and the that we're seeing all over, it just keeps going. So I appreciate that idea of education. People gets to a point where this apolitical thing, people need to know the truth of what's happening, starting with the youth on up.
Well, the good thing is there's 5 board members for this foundation that all just heard what you said. So we'll talk about it in future meetings and see where we can get involved.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate that educational part from you, Mr. Mayor.
I think we had a question. We have another question.
I'll show real quickly here that most of these elements that you're speaking of really are coming at a state and county level. And Mayor Pro Tem has something to say.
If I may, I didn't dress for the occasion, so that's why I was trying to avoid it. In more ways than one. I don't want to be confused representing the wrong organization here. But I do want to point out, that's what this group is all about. That's why we formed Active Claremont, trying to get this room filled for all our different meetings. We always have speakers on topics about local issues so that our residents are informed and educated and can make wise decisions then when they go to the polls, or what different things they want to contribute to for the better of our community. So it's great to see this many people here this evening. It's unusual we have this size of a crowd, which is sad to say. I mean, a lot of meetings we may have 4 or 5 people in the audience, and we have programs on housing, and we have programs on we had a presentation on marijuana, because that's becoming an issue. We have an expansion of marijuana in the community, and people need to be aware of those things, whatever your opinion is on it. And yet when we have those presentations, not many people in this room. So we need to encourage you to come back to Active Claremont. More importantly, we need to encourage you to bring your neighbors and friends, and this room should be filled every meeting, and we need to try to continue to bring programs to help you be aware of what these things are going on and what actions do you need to take to try to address these things. Because again, as Ed said, as elected officials, we can't do it alone. As individual organizations, we can't do it alone. It's got to be a community effort. Everybody needs to be a part of it. So thank you for that opportunity. And I don't speak for this organization.
Well, two comments. First of all, he mentioned having the police come up. We had 2 German Shepherds appear on our property, and I was alone. He was out of town. I didn't know what to do, so I called the police. So 2 officers came, and they called Humane Society, and the dogs got taken care of, which was good. Okay, well, I took some gourmet cookies into the police station that night. Now I know there's a Claremont Police Foundation that I can contribute to. Now my other question is, how much does it cost for the women's lockers? Do you know yet what it would cost to do this project?
They haven't.
So for the actual building or for stuff inside the building?
Well, just to get it together so the women will have the lockers. How many do you need?
So the city is looking at extending the current building, adding another space for, so building an actual building.
Yeah.
So right now they have funded the architecture to design it, and then they'll go out, once they get the design, go out for bid to figure out how much it's going to cost to do the actual build. So that amount is unknown at this point.
I see. But the building doesn't tell you how much it will be then to get the lockers and everything inside? I mean, how many policewomen will you have and how many lockers will you need?
As far as physical lockers, remember that you also have uniformed staff in dispatch. You have uniformed staff up in records. So you have 7 police officers, but 90% of the dispatch records are all females as well. I can't tell you, kind of out of the loop as far as what exactly square footage would be needed, so it's hard to answer that question.
So
but
right now all you know is you need the building, but you don't know what you need for inside to get it to be what you need for the
Oh, I'm sure the people that need to know. I'm just saying I don't know.
Okay.
And that's part of the architect's assignment, is to create a building for the amount of people that they foresee in that building now and in the future.
And Joan, the architect will design the interior. There will be an opportunity to do an architectural design in the interior. That would be placement of locker and space and shower and et cetera. And so then at that point, there'll be a better understanding of how many lockers fit and et cetera.
Well, I mean, it just helps to have all that information kind of together, because then you can even make that a goal to focus on that and fund that, you know, and then go on to other things.
Yeah, so I think
projects within the police.
Good news is we're starting that process, and we'll definitely get to that goal.
Any more questions? Real quick, I want to bring up another part of the police department that I'm also a member of. God help me. I was a fireman 20 years, so to drive around in one of those ugly black and white things is frightening. I keep wanting them to paint one red, just for me. Hasn't happened. But we have community patrol, and we have several people here. If you'd stand, current and former members of community patrol. Back here, back here. We go out. We go out and do house checks and then patrol, and then I do live scan, which do fingerprinting, and we leave the fingers on the hand after I get done. I haven't had any complaints recently, so I'm only one of 2 that does that for the department, but it's been kind of fun, but it's totally different from fire trucks. Fire trucks are much more fun. The other thing I'd like to bring up is switching hats, going back to Active Claremont. We have 3 really good meetings coming up. We meet the 3rd Thursday of the month. And, these are our trifolds that we just got on Tuesday, so please look at them. Our meetings are the 3rd Thursday of each month. Our meeting in February is going to be with the city engineer discussing Town Avenue. Our meeting on the 3rd Thursday of March is going to be with a young lady who is a member of the tribe.
Tongva.
Thank you. That was up here at the end of Indian Hill. So she's going to talk about her ancestors. And then our April meeting is going to be with the city, what is she called, forester? She's in charge of all the trees. Arborist. She's not the arborist, she's over the arborist. So she's going to speak in April. And if you have any other speakers that you think would be interested in speaking, please let me know. If you are interested in being a member, it's really expensive. $10 for an individual, $15 for a family for a year. And if you want one of our shirts, they're only $20. Any other questions for Ed or our Mayor Pro Tem before he hits the lights again? Or Shelley or anyone on the board? Please keep in mind, every dollar you get between now and June is doubled. Yeah, John.
Thank you. I love a captured audience, and boy, we got it, as Corey said this evening. I just want to follow up on the membership. If you're not a member of Active Claremont, it's very easy. Just go online, bring up activeclaremont.org, and you will find our membership form. Fill that out, send your $10.
$10 for an individual,
or whatever. If you
15
do
for
a family, it's 15. Send it in, we'll put you on, and we'll be in contact with you. I want to say another thing. I think there's some people here tonight that perhaps have not been getting our email messages. If you have joined Active Claremont and you're still not receiving our emails, please see me before you leave. I volunteered. Unfortunately, we lost our roster maker last summer, and so I'm trying to get us caught up. I think I'm about there, but if you're not getting our information, please see me before you leave. Now, one other item, very important. When we introduced our 2024 officers, you maybe didn't notice there was one significant office that was left out: secretary. The board, all of us, when we have a board meeting, everybody's there busily scribbling down notes, and that's the way we do secretary. We need a secretary. It doesn't have to necessarily be a lady. It can be a gentleman, just somebody that would like to help us out. We have meetings once a month. It's not gonna take you away from your business or whatever it is, but we really do need a secretary. We've been without one for 2 years. We need a secretary, very much. Also, I'm partially involved. We call all our members every month and tell them about the meeting and what's coming up. We think, I'm convinced that that's one of the reasons we've been able to survive and get people out to our meeting.
Saturday.
Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. John will, actually. But anyhow, we need to have, we're losing some of our callers. They're getting old, their health is not good, and right now, I'm involved with the callers. I need 2 callers. Here's all you have to do if you will be a caller for Active Claremont. First of all, you gotta be a member. Secondly, it will take you 10 minutes each month to do that call. So if you can help me out with the calls, check in with me before you leave. And then one other thing, Dale, was what he was talking about. John, I'm gonna let you do it. Go ahead. John's involved with these that are volunteer coordinator. Go ahead, John.
Every third Saturday.
Yes.
Every third Saturday, we meet at the Lutheran Church down on Baseline, and then the city has covered us with liability insurance, and we have that stretch designated for litter pickup. So we've got our regulars that come out. A lot of them are octogenarians, and they'll outpace most of us here. So they're amazing. They are really spunky. They're fun. So at any rate, that we usually meet at about 8 o'clock, 8 to 8:30. I mean 9:30, and that's it's very basic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we say goodbye, Joe?
Sure.
Goodbye, Joe. Thank you, everyone,
Thanks for coming, everyone.
They're in and out.